The Path.
The Path
The show is on.
I had the biggest smile on my face.
Taking it to a whole new level.
Pitch and bike shred simulator.
You have like a angry style.
Yeah, we're called Play Hard.
We've had some good times.
Welcome to the Path Podcast. It's June 8th, 2025. My name is Tani, here with Auk.
Good morning. Good morning, Tani.
And a good morning to you, sir.
It's an early one.
Yeah, I was feeling it a little this morning.
Yeah.
We had a good day yesterday, and it was an early start.
Yeah. Bikes and BBQ was yesterday.
It was good.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I don't think I've actually gone on the ride in quite a while.
Thanks for going.
No, thank you. And I apologize for not going on these more frequently.
It was nice out there.
Oh, it was beautiful. And what's a lot of interesting things happening on the ride. But first, just meeting a lot of cool people.
Yeah. I was thinking last night, actually, about all the different people I know who are like really close friends who kind of met on a path ride. It makes me. That's one of the things that makes me happy about the path.
Right. Like, I was thinking a little compare and contrast between the path rides of 20 years ago and like Bikes and BBQ that I went on today.
Yeah.
It's a whole new generation of people, which is fantastic. But I also realize how little I go on big group rides where I don't know the vast majority of the people.
Yeah.
And so this was a lot of fun. Meeting some of the women that go on the Wednesday rides, Kristen and Becca. That was pretty cool. Mentioned that, I think it was to Kristen, that I was like, I think we might have passed you on a ride. She's like, yeah, you did. I said, sorry, we didn't stop more and say hello. Mm-hmm. She didn't say like, no, you should have stopped.
You're talking about when we came across the Women's Wednesday ride on our ride, yeah.
Correct. Getting to talk to people that I might not otherwise have gotten to talk to.
Yeah.
So talked to a lot of really cool people, and got to talk to Mike from Shimano.
Yes.
And we'll probably get into that conversation in a little bit.
Mike is the man.
Mike is the man. He's a tech rep at Shimano. So that was really cool. Some really fun stuff, cool stuff coming out of Shimano these days. But yeah, I also learned that. Shout out to Smoked. I think that was the lunch.
Thanks to Smoked, that food was awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think there must have been brisket sandwiches.
Yeah.
Those were excellent.
And smoked chicken was really good.
The smoked chicken. I probably said this before? Smoked chicken, not just smoked the restaurant's chicken. In general, smoked chicken. I feel like when you smoke chicken, it's the biggest difference than when you just bake chicken. You know, like if you smoke ribs versus just cook them in the oven, or smoke a brisket versus cooking it in the oven, or
are you saying of all the meats, chicken is the one that benefits the most from being smoked?
I think so.
Because it takes on a lot of flavor.
It does.
Yeah. I think so.
So that was really good. Smoked does a great job on that.
For sure.
The other thing that I was noticing, a lot of cool NA beers.
Yeah. I was thinking about how our events used to be rowdier.
Right.
Which kind of makes sense. We were younger.
Right. But how I was talking to Drew, and he went on a big gravel bike ride with Eric that we ride with, and Brian from the shop, and Jeff. And it's funny how he says, yeah, after the ride, he was, had driven home and was enjoying a couple of NA beers, and it took a moment to like register. It's like, oh, non-alcoholic beers. It's becoming part of our vernacular.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed that move too. What else is going on?
It's pretty dusty out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not against. I think there's something rad about riding in the dust.
Mm-hmm.
It's drifty. It's kind of ethereal and kind of mystical sometimes. It does cool things to the light. I think dust gets a bad rap when it's actually pretty cool.
I agree.
But I will say, I mean, obviously following someone in the dust can be less fun.
It is not just could be, I think is pretty much less fun.
Something pretty sick about when your riding buddy has like dust in their teeth.
Oh man. Exactly.
But I had this thought of, is the dust more slippery in the beginning of the summer? Is there a thing where there's like dirt on the rocks that dries out and turns into dust, and then later in the summer it gets kind of worn away by riders, and for now
Is
it's
actually
slippery? Because the last few rides I've just felt like, is this how slippery it is all the time in the summer? And I'm not so sure that it is.
Okay, I think I could support that early on at this after it's pretty much dried out.
The initial stage of drying out, maybe there's more dust on the rocks.
I think so. And then on the commonly ridden lines, it's
turns into a blue groove.
yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. It has been getting, and I think we're in that phase now. If it hadn't been for this past week's brief thunderstorm and downpour,
Areas that are loose stay dusty.
right?
But your wheels kind of pizza cutter into that
Yeah.
and get traction.
Yep.
Areas that are really hard pack, like clay and rock,
Yep.
or like a rock surface, I feel like they get a coat of dust on them and get slippery.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder how long it takes for that to wear off, or is it just a gradual throughout the summer, and we adjust to it and we adjust to it and we adjust to it, and then
Yeah, and then maybe wind blows dust back onto the trail.
yeah, right. Trails less ridden might get that kind of up and down. But I did have, like I said, earlier this week, I saw a chance of thunderstorms in the forecast, and sure enough, on Wednesday, at about in the early afternoon, started coming down, and then it really started coming down here in Southern California.
You and I had a ride planned, and we had to cancel it at the last second because it was pouring.
It was pouring,
And
right?
it didn't seem like it was going to be. I mean, that wasn't really in the weather forecast, for at least not like
that level.
when I looked at. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And so, so what was really interesting is I had thought, so that was on Wednesday afternoon, the amount of rain that came down, I had thought, okay, maybe by Friday things will dry out and it'll be like epic, hero dirt conditions. I rode on Friday morning and it had 100% dried out.
Right.
Like there was no visible moisture.
Yeah.
But what had happened is it turned a lot of the really dusty, loose trails back into hard pack right before it gets dry and dusty.
Yeah.
And I had just a phenomenal day.
Yes.
Like what you had mentioned the other on maybe a couple shows back. You said, have you ever have those moments where you just feel like you rode a trail and everything felt right, and you had a ride that everything felt right? This ride was virtually like that. I think I remember one corner that I didn't feel right about. But it's probably because that was like the third descent, and I was feeling really good, and I just kind of came in a little too hot.
That's awesome. It's such a good feeling to have rides like that.
Right.
I almost wonder if there's like a bank of those kind of that state, because I had that ride where I felt like everything just like nothing could go wrong. Mm-hmm. And then lately, ever since that ride, every ride I've gone on, everything seems scary. Nothing seems to go right. Like everything feels clumsy.
You have to bring me down like that. No kidding. I'm sorry that's happening.
I think I took too much flow out of the bank on that ride.
Oh man. Okay, so
Emptied out my flow account.
exactly, got to build it back up.
Yeah.
I, because that morning, this is Friday morning. Friday morning, I had actually woke up very early, and it's like, I'm not totally sure I feel like riding. I thought, well, from a exercise perspective, I thought I should probably get in a long run. It's like I thought I could go do the same hour and a half run in the same trails, probably get a better cardio out of it. It's like, I'm going to ride. I don't know how much time I'm going to have to ride this weekend. And that's actually what it turned into. So I wonder if I went to the Flow ATM and made a big withdrawal because, I needed to make that withdrawal. I just withdrew. I just needed a little bit. But
Oh, you went into your overdraft line?
I think I might have,
The Flow overdraft line?
Yeah, without realizing it, It's like Vegas. You get done with the first one, you're like, oh, I need more. Just kept going. But yeah, that was a fantastic. And it's interesting. Yeah, I've been trying to focus on pumping the backside of little trail features to get speed, conserve battery.
Yeah.
Especially on really long rides. And like that combined with my breathing technique that I kind of talked about, using that same thing through corners, has really been a fun experiment.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how much just focusing on your breathing can change how your interaction with your body is.
Right.
And another thing about that pumping thing, we pump to get speed.
Right.
But the other thing about that is you're in more control.
Yeah.
If you're pumping bumps versus just riding over them,
Right.
you're in more control.
Right.
You're more connected to the bike, more connected to the ground. And it's a move that can help you stay in control in other situations.
Right.
Like, for example, pumping is the practice of weighting and unweighting partly, although there is a whole aspect of it that's like geometry with your body extending.
Correct.
And changing radiuses and everything.
Correct.
But there is an aspect of it that's weighting and unweighting.
Right.
And I feel like just being always pumping stuff always makes you always ready to like float over some roots or float over a weird rutty section or float over some embedded rocks.
Right. And prepping for a corner.
Right. Or wading into a corner.
Into a corner. And it's an active, engaging, more active, mentally engaged way of riding, I think.
Right. More pilot, less passenger.
Correct. And even if there's a conscious decision to, it's not even passenger, but to not pump, but plow through parts of the trail, weighting and unweighting is a more active way of approaching that.
It's weird too, because since it's more active, it's sort of you're expending energy to do that.
Right.
But I would argue that overall, at the bottom of the hill, you're going to be less tired than you would be with a plowing riding style.
I think so. It's interesting. I wonder how much of that, as you've like kind of plowed through whatever feature it is, or didn't unweight in certain ways. It's not necessarily that feature, but what happens immediately after that feature, that then you're re-engaging into instead of like a constant waiting, unweighting, actively engage, you're like, I'm just going to charge this, and then re-engaging to go, okay, now I need to do this. That mental shift in gears, maybe that's part of the physical as well as mental like drain.
It also is, I think it's a little, well, you're going to expend energy hanging on if you're plowing and blasting through stuff as opposed to flowing it.
Right.
So there's just different ways you're going to spend the energy.
Right. Yeah. So, anyways, that was that was a great ride and a lot of good things going on. What else is going on?
Over the Hump, June 17th.
Fantastic.
Snow Valley Bike Park opens June 14th.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Actually, it opened.
I'm sorry. Snow Valley Bike Park is open. Summit had their opening day this last Friday. I meant to say Mountain High Bike Park opens June 14th.
Right.
So it's been a while since there's been any mountain biking at Mountain High. So that's kind of exciting.
This is the first, yeah.
And I'm curious to see what those trails are like. It's steep there.
Right.
And it's closer to us than the other resorts.
Right.
And remember when Snow Summit closed at this point, it was a long time ago.
Right.
Snow Summit was closed for years.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 0 bike parks in Southern California.
Right.
With 0.
And now we've got 3.
4. If you count, 5, if you count Luswania, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly.
Okay.
And if you count Vail Lake, I think it's 6.
Right.
Because we have Sky Park and Summit and Valley.
Yeah.
And Mountain High.
Yeah. Man, that's...
So it's a good time to be a mountain biker.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and even so along those lines, it's pretty fantastic that some of the Cleveland National trails are reopening as well.
Yes.
So
that is really good news.
Man, the
Maple Springs is open again.
Huge connector
motorway.
huge connector to that half of the Cleveland National.
And it's sort of an academic point, but it makes me happy. It's an academic point because people were riding the luge and San Diego Truck Trail anyway.
Right.
But it does make me happy that they're actually technically open now, as opposed to just people are riding them anyway.
Right. I agree with that.
So yeah, the luge is, if you're one of the people who is following the rules and not riding the luge, you can go ride the luge now too.
Yep. Yeah. So that's fantastic. That, again, officially opens up connectors for, like, from Whiting to the luge and the likes.
Yep.
So, yeah, now if you're running motorway, you can run up through the parking lot.
Very cool.
So that's fantastic.
We have 15% off 2025 Orbea.
Oh wow.
That includes Wilds with the new Gen 5 Bosch motor. So this is the first time we've seen a bike with Gen 5 Bosch at a discount.
Oh yeah.
And then that also includes full power lightweight e-bikes, the Rise.
Right.
So
cool. Did I see MX Wilds showing up?
Yes, we have MX Wilds in the stop too.
That's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
I did that to mine several years ago.
Yep.
But now it's official.
Let's make it official.
That's right.
We got Crafty races in stock for $47.69. It's like 29% off. Mondraker's.
Fantastic.
That's an all-mountain e-bike with a Bosch race motor.
Right. We were looking at that the other day.
It's a decent build.
Yeah.
That is a lot of bike for $47.69.
Yeah. And the geometry on the Mondrakers. I really like the reach numbers, especially that reach number.
They're not just doing exactly what everyone else does. They have their own take.
Yeah.
They have execution. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've
kind of we're very early adopters of that long reach.
100%. They really help move us all forward on that.
Correct.
No pun intended. Pun intended.
Right.
We got Transition TR11s in stock because downhill's hot right now.
Oh man.
So downhill bikes.
Yep. Especially with the bike parks opening. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Also, the Path is hiring.
Ooh.
So Saturday availability is key.
Okay.
That's one of the things we need right now.
Yep.
We're hiring for front of the house and back of the house.
Got it.
So someone with some experience working on bikes, and then someone who would be in customer service and sales and work in the front counter.
Great.
You can send your resumes to Tani at thepathbikeshop.com. TANI at thepathbikeshop.com.
Sounds like good opportunities.
Yeah, and this could potentially be a part-time or a full-time position. Both of these positions.
Got it.
Yep. Other hot and new, Shimano finally released wireless XTR.
That is really exciting. What are some of the features on the XTR?
Well, first off, it's not just a drivetrain; it's also a whole new braking system. So new caliper, new master cylinder,
Right.
new lever. Actually, the lever blades might be the same, but new caliper, new master cylinder. And no, the lever blades I believe are different because they have the upsweep. I think that's in the lever blade. It might be in the yeah. No, I think it's in the lever blade though.
Got it.
So the pivot for the lever blade is close where it mounts to the master is closer to the bar. And the lever blade itself has kind of a little bit of upsweep.
Oh, interesting.
And the whole concept is that makes it so that it lines up with your hand better, just how your hand meets the bar.
Right.
It does feel really good.
Which is something that we've talked about on the show. You especially an advocate of where the brake lever fits into your finger, into that index finger, not necessarily at the pad or the tip of your fingertip, but more between the first and second knuckles.
Yeah.
And for you, closer to the second knuckle or that middle knuckle.
I probably spend more time thinking about brake lever position than is healthy. Or something. Like I might be into the weird zone on that topic.
Well, since we've been talking about it a little bit more, and since my own finger position has been evolving over the past, I don't know, 6 months or so, I've been thinking about it a lot more as well.
I think this is one of my greatest contributions in the bike shop is that there are literally hundreds and hundreds of riders who I've set up for one finger braking and helped them understand the position.
Right. It's really interesting, like two finger braking or more.
Or middle finger braking.
Middle finger braking. Right.
Also known as FU braking.
Where does that come from? What's the...
You know, on a motorcycle, sometimes it might make more sense to use the middle finger for the clutch and the front brake.
Okay.
Because, for one thing, because it's hard to get a good one finger position on it because that's right. To sign up for it. Also, like, I think that sometimes, especially if you don't have a hydraulic clutch or a hydraulic brake, it can be kind of a lot of force to pull the lever.
Sure. So people who come from that background.
Sometimes I see that, although I think one finger is still a thing even. I mean, on my dirt bike, I try to get it set up for one finger, and it's kind of hard.
Right.
But you can do it.
Right.
I wonder what the culture is around that and high-level dirt biking. I don't know.
Right.
But I have noticed myself sometimes drawn to the middle finger for the clutch on the dirt, in particular on the dirt bike.
Got it.
Maybe it's because also, you know, with the brake, you're modulating it through a very small, when it really comes down to it, it's a pretty small range of lever motion that you're modulating.
Right.
Where with a clutch, you're modulating like through like an inch maybe
right
of feathering.
Right.
So that's like a much bigger modulation zone.
Band, yeah.
So that might be a factor too. But yeah, one finger braking is where it's at.
Yeah.
Less hand pump, more modulation,
And
better control of the bars.
And it's interesting, Shimano in this generation of the XTR brake has almost taken that to like the next level.
Yeah.
You know,
And
upsweep and the position of the pivot and, you know, almost with the intent, not just shape of the lever.
I would say they have. I would say they've taken it to the next level. I wonder if they patented that upsweep.
Ooh, interesting.
I wonder if other people are going to do similar things.
Yeah. Pivot location and upsweep. And yeah, makes me want to go over. I think there's a couple bikes on the floor that have the XTR and the new brakes on them. 4-piston.
4-piston for there's a trail kit and trail/enduro, and there's XC. I would want to double check before I say how many pistons are on the XC one,
Right.
but the trail enduro is 4-piston for sure.
What's the word on the street about power of that?
They feel, I went and I set up our demo Hey with the kit and went and rode it. They feel very powerful to me, and also not grabby.
Oh, interesting.
Because Shimano brakes, for people who aren't used to Shimano brakes, they can feel a little grabby.
Yeah.
There's like even memes on the internet about it. The other thing with Shimano brakes is that sometimes they would get some brake fluid weeping through the pistons, and contaminating the pads.
Yeah.
So the new XTR, the pistons are resin instead of
ceramic or whatever.
Yeah, so that should solve that.
Yeah.
And so that's cool.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But shifting. So the wireless shifting on the XTR Di2 it's really fast. Noticeably faster than transmission.
Right.
Like you push the button or you push the lever and it shifts right away.
Right.
I think some people are going to like that.
Yeah. That was a knock early on about the transmission.
For sure.
I haven't noticed.
I perceive that it's happening.
Yeah. No, I
but
agree.
it doesn't bother me.
That's a better way to put it.
The lever is shaped like a shifter lever and less of a button situation.
It's not a paddle. It's two different.
Definitely something some people are asking for. Like, I would say there's definitely a demand for that.
Right. And the paddles and the overall pod position there's a huge amount of adjustability.
Right.
Angles, rotation on the paddles, how far you have to pull your thumb off the bar to get to it.
Right.
Inside, outside, closer to the outside of the bar.
You can basically make any adjustment you can imagine on the individual shift levers or paddles as you.
Yeah, that was one thing I was really playing with, and you could get it. It's to me, you can get it in a better position than even the old mechanical shifters.
Yep. And you can push past the first click and into a second click, and it'll shift twice.
Yep.
Or you can hold it down; it'll keep shifting.
Like hold down all the way in the double click.
I think you can even hold it down in the single click.
Right.
It's almost like that double click is there for exactly two.
Right. And it feels like a mechanical shifter.
Yep. And it shifts extremely well under load.
Right.
So you can kind of just keep pedaling.
Right. Yeah, that's I feel like Shimano has executed that really well. That shift under load.
Yeah.
They've done that really well, and perhaps this is even the next evolution of that.
I think so.
So they have a hanger on the rear derailleur.
Yes.
Even on UDH, so it's different than the SRAM transmission or SRAM derailleurs, where the SRAM derailleurs direct mounts to the UDH interface without a hanger. Shimano does have the hanger. One of the things that Mike from Shimano was talking about is that that helps allow the rear rotation of the derailleur. If it's hit, they also don't want to be transmitting the large forces through the frame, so derailleur will break the hanger will break without transmitting the loads to the frame itself. I'm not sure if there's been any issues with frames breaking because of the forces getting transmitted through the derailleur?
I've not seen that.
Right.
I've not seen transmission bikes where. So this is an old idea, and I think that it's true that derailleur hangers have always been designed to bend and even brake before the derailleur, especially ever since we started having replaceable hangers. Because there was a time when the hanger was integrated into the frame, and you could not replace them.
Right, but that
was a long time ago.
And if those broke, that was a bad situation.
Yeah, you could weld on a new hanger, or you could go single speed.
Right. To me, I like the idea of the of how SRAM has executed the UDH.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
Right.
But I suspect that part of the UDH spec is engineering to make it strong enough.
Right.
And for sure, part of it is just a thickness of material.
Right.
Because it has to be the thickness to go between the two tabs on the derailleur.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Which in and of itself is somewhat of kind of at least an indicator of strength.
Sure.
How thick the material is.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't see broken frames. I should knock on some wood because I just haven't seen that broken frames from people hitting the derailleur and then there wasn't a hanger to take the load and the frame breaks instead.
Right.
And some of that is probably because SRAM also has kind of a breakaway technology, right, for their derailleur.
Yeah.
But I think some of it is that the UDH mount is thick.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And I wonder, too, if the UDH spec includes any sort of kind of load engineering guidelines for that area to make sure that the frame is strong enough to not break when the derailleur takes a hit.
Sure. And I wonder if the derailleur will actually break before the frame does, along that lines. Like, did they do some sort of analysis on that itself? Bro sciencing a little bit. But the breakaway feature, the quote breakaway feature on the XTR, it's really cool.
Yep.
And Mike was demonstrating it to me, giving it a pretty good whack and watching it move and then come back. So
pretty cool.
And I guess to your point, having that ability to absorb and move, with the XTR, it's both backwards and inwards, without just torquing itself or the frame or the hanger. It's got to go a long way to, one, avoiding a broken derailleur hanger, because instead of the hanger taking all that energy, it's the derailleur itself is decelerating, absorbing some of that energy before it goes into the hanger.
Like a boxer
Right.
floating with punches, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm excited to try a bike with the new XTR. That Hey, I'm actually excited to try the Hey too. So maybe I'll take that out on a pedal bike adventure.
Oh yeah, you should.
Yeah. But I see that it's the brake levers are pretty far out. So I figured I'm not sure, maybe somebody used it after Tani did.
Maybe. You're talking about the engagement point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just where, not just the engagement point, but where they're sitting relative to the bar.
Resting point as well.
Right. Other things coming out from Shimano?
Well, carbon XTR wheels.
Wow.
First carbon rims first XTR carbon rims. Also cartridge bearing hubs. So first cartridge bearing XTR hubs.
After 150 years of free bearings. Wow. What's the word on those? Shimano moving away from cup and cone bearings.
I don't really know, but I mean, my take on it is Shimano seems to really believe in the kind of open ball bearing
Yep.
execution that they were doing for so long.
Yep.
And I doubt that they have changed their worldview. I suspect that they're just giving people what they want.
Right.
And I like hubs with cartridge bearings, so they're giving me what I want.
I'm sure the mechanics like that too.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Although, the rebuildability of the old style is pretty cool.
Right. I wonder how many pros on like the, in the road bike world have Shimano cup and cone bearing
Yeah,
type of
I don't know.
designs.
It's a good question.
Yeah. Let's see. Any idea on the price point on the XTR rims of wheels?
Ooh, I don't have that off the top of my head. But the upgrade kit, which is a shifter, derailleur, battery, charger, I think that might be all.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Cassette? No,
I
maybe not.
have to double check.
Okay.
I don't think so. It uses basically the same cassette and chain as the previous 12-speed mechanical.
Oh, that's a really nice feature.
It's also interchangeable or with all other wireless Shimano.
Oh, got
So
it.
you can mix gravel groups and road and mountain interchangeably. Like you could do, a drop bar shifter with a mountain cassette and derailleur, for example.
Got it.
Some people call that a mullet, I guess. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a different kind of mullet.
It's a different kind of mullet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm having some strange visions in my head as we say a different kind of mullet. You could mullet any part of your body.
oh man. Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. When's the release on shifter, drivetrain, and
Oh, it's
wheels
out.
and brakes? All of this is
We
out.
have it in stock.
Oh, that's exciting.
Well, we have the drivetrains in stock.
Got it. How about the wheels?
I don't think we do have the wheels yet.
Got it. Well, that's exciting. Looking forward. Should go ride with Andrew. I suspect Andrew from Shimano is sporting this stuff on his ride. So, yeah, this is great. Let's see what else is going on. What
Well,
else?
related to the fast shifting, I have a conversation I wanted to share.
Sure.
So I was chatting with one of our crew, and we were just talking about pros and cons of drivetrains, and they said that the whole shifting under load thing isn't a big deal to them because they know how to shift.
Okay.
I thought that was an interesting statement. It got my wheels turning.
Yeah. Okay. What is your thought on that? What are some of your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna tie it into something else that I've been thinking about.
Okay.
Which is that I am relearning how to shift.
Oh.
So
Because of transmission?
yeah, so if I shift on a hill,
Yeah.
my natural I'm deeply ingrained with the habit of backing off on the pedal force.
Yeah.
Really deeply ingrained.
Same.
So, and just anytime I shift, I don't pedal hard while I shift because I'm not a noob.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like-
Right.
But with transmission, there's no benefit to that
Right.
behavior. In
Right.
fact, there's only penalty
Right.
because you're
loss of
backing
power.
up.
Yeah. Totally.
And you might lose momentum and end up having to go to an even lower gear.
Right.
Like, so if you're just always pedaling with the same effort,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can untrain yourself to back off the power when you shift,
You're going to gain.
you're going to be in a better place.
Right.
You're going to shift more.
Yep.
So you're going to be in an optimal cadence more often.
Right.
and you're going to have less momentary losses of power as you back off to shift.
Right.
And another interesting thing that happens is fast shifting becomes a lot less important. And the reason for that is the fast shifting, the reason that I care how fast it shifts is because how fast it shifts is how long I have to back off the pressure.
Yeah.
But if I don't have to back off the pressure,
fast shifting,
not as big of a thing.
Right. I mean, you're right. It's not as big of a thing. It might still be. What's interesting is
still a thing,
but it affects. Really allows you to not having to back off. Really allows you to optimize where you're shifting and how to maximize your power through a transition from down to up or flat to up within the up itself.
So with old school shifting technique, when you go from like fast, flat, or downhill to an uphill, there's always that moment where you're spinning out because you're in the gear before you need to be in the gear.
Right. Because you kind of have to back off a little bit.
You have to be in the gear before you need to be in the gear, because if you're not in a low enough gear, once you need to be in a low enough gear,
you can't back off.
You can't back off, and therefore you can't shift, and you're stuck.
Exactly.
And that's the old way of doing it.
Yeah.
And now you maybe, instead of shifting up 20 feet, 3 gears, 20 feet, or 4 gears, 10, 15, 20 feet before the incline starts, so that you're
full charging.
And you shift one gear when it starts to get steep and another when it gets a little steeper.
Yep.
And there's never that mad spin until your bike slows down enough to be in the right gear.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, and I am doing the same. Relearning to trust that you're not going to snap. That's what it's supposed to do. You're not going to snap a chain or what have you.
Yeah, or just that thing where your chain just blows off the cassette and just goes.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, bike noises.
I do. Yeah, exactly. The not so good bike noises. I do think that you had mentioned the fast shifting of the new wireless XTR. You can fast shift under load. That gives you the chance to optimize even more, in my mind.
Yeah.
Because you are in that position of power, not transitioning to the position of power.
I think that's true.
So, yeah, no, I totally agree with the approach of relearning shifting.
Well, it's like you can shift even later.
Yeah.
If the shifting is faster and you can shift under load.
Right. Maybe where you get the most out of that is from fast, flat, or downhill into climbing is just maintaining that momentum and speed.
I think it's also undulating terrain.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like flat, steep, mellow, flat, down, up, flat, steep.
Yeah. Or climbs. It's interesting. I've been doing this with my push bike is, a lot of climbs, especially not long fire road climbs, but there's natural trail undulations on climbs, slightly steeper, flattening out, or slightly steep, and then a little hump down just for a moment.
Yeah, none of our trails are steadily graded.
Right. And so shifting up and down to take advantage of the backside, it's like an uphill backside pump, at 3 miles an hour. And to take most advantage of that is shifting into a taller gear on the backside.
Yeah.
And even if just for the few pedal strokes.
Yeah, totally.
Being able to pedal under load, really, you can take advantage of that. But I do think that the XTR fast shifting is going to be really helpful in that. So you're not transitioning power you're not transitioning power waiting for the gear to shift into the backside. You can do it right at the very top.
Yep.
And then pedal into the backside and then back.
And also, so you're not shifting earlier than you need to because you're afraid it's going to shift slow.
Correct. Yeah, it's an exciting time for drivetrains.
It's a good time to be a mountain biker.
Exactly.
Speaking of it's a good time to be a mountain biker, I think headset cable routing's dead. Let's celebrate.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it really is. I think it's dead. Orbea just released their new 2026 Occam, and it doesn't have headset cable routing out of the box.
They were one of the biggest advocates.
They were one of the biggest advocates.
Wow, what a flash in the pan.
It was too long for me. Yeah, I mean, headset cable routing has a lot of hate, and I would say some of the hate is more intense than I feel about it. Like, I think it's just kind of annoying. I would potentially even own a bike with headset cable routing. It's not like a deal breaker for me.
Right.
But it's not. The world is better without it.
I would agree with that. And I've never even had to work on a bike with the headset cable routing.
Yeah.
So, no, that's a good thing. Man, I really do feel like that was, I mean, again, I'm not a bike shop owner or a tech, but I feel like it was only a couple of years.
Man, I think Orbea's been doing it for like 5 years.
Oh, maybe it feels that way because COVID was 2 or 3 of those years.
And those don't count. Strike that from the record.
Wow. Yeah, pretty great. That's a good thing. It's a good movement.
Yes. All hail headset cable routing. Headset cable routing is dead.
Exactly. What else is going on? Still crank length?
So yeah, I put the XTR stuff on our Hey demo, and the XTR stuff came with 170 cranks.
Okay.
Man,
Mike mentioned this to me.
I mean, I think when we were talking earlier about how I feel like I overdrew my flow account.
Okay.
I think part of that might be the 170 cranks.
Oh.
I do not. I was telling Mike that it reminds me of if I had to ride a bike with like a 70 mil stem.
Oh.
Like, you could do that. I can ride like you. I have back in the day,
Right.
when that was considered pretty short.
Right.
We did all kinds of stuff on bikes with 70 mil stems.
Yeah.
But man, it feels awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. The width of your stance.
The width of your stance, the
For
size
pedaling,
of the circles.
Size of the circles. For pedaling even. Feels awkward.
I'll tell you what. Based on my pedaling time uphill, it doesn't seem like it's an advantage to have longer cranks. A couple of months ago, I went up chutes a minute or two faster on my Switchblade than I did on the Hey.
Oh,
The Switchblade
interesting.
has 150 cranks, and those are not an apples to apples comparison or anything. But the Switchblade's heavier,
Right.
has shorter cranks,
Right.
and that's a big enough difference in time to where I don't think the 150 cranks are holding me back at the very least.
Right.
And
I don't know. Maybe you went to the Flow ATM before you rode the Switchblade on that ride.
made a deposit.
Made it to
Maybe I'd been making deposits all week. How do you make deposits?
Man, I don't know.
Get enough sleep.
Get enough sleep, right? Eat healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not be too. I have a hard time.
Stress.
Sometimes the flow state is the antidote to the stress,
Yeah.
right? And so, but that doesn't mean that the stress makes it. The stress is still not conducive to the flow state, right?
Right.
Like, you can do it,
Right. Exactly.
and you need to.
Right. Right. That seems more like a withdrawal. Definitely a withdrawal to overcome the antidote.
And you know what, too? I would say, just speaking as a person, I experienced that my kind of like fear, like my physical internal fear energy kind of ebbs and flows.
Right.
And that's not good for the flow.
Yeah,
At
exactly.
all. I mean, when it's higher.
If you enter a ride in that state, trying to get that ride to go well is more energy.
Yeah, and if you kind of already
Yeah.
don't feel safe in your body,
Totally.
and then you want to go do unsafe stuff, although it can kind of also be therapeutic and like everything. There's a cool tension there, but
yeah. No, that's right, and that's times when we're riding, come up to some crux move or feature, and it's like, maybe not today.
I mean, one of the reasons I
bypass it.
like to ride is because there's not a lot of space for intrusive thoughts while you're like doing certain mountain biking stuff.
Right.
Same point in time, there's not a lot of room for flow if you've got a bunch of intrusive thoughts.
I agree with that. So yeah, no, I've been pedaling 155. So sorry to close the loop on that. I think I heard that the shortest XTR in this new generation is 160.
Okay, that sounds right.
And so, yeah, that's acceptable.
Yeah,
So
that's acceptable.
It's really cool that on the XTR group set that they've gone as short as 160.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be unheard of in a
Totally.
previous generation.
yeah.
So, yeah, I still think 150. I think I need to put like 145s on my e-bike, and then get used to the reps on the tiny circles, and then go pedal 150s. I still feel like on 150s I'm pedaling tiny circles, but 155s to me it's the new 172 and a half.
It changes fast though.
175.
Like you haven't ridden 150s in a while.
That's true. So maybe it's because I've been spinning on 155s. The 150 is going to be
Because
more natural.
I remember feeling like I was maybe more comfortable on 160s than 150s like 6 months ago.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's true anymore. I don't think that's true anymore.
Right. Especially because the bullets are coming with 155s,
And
like our bikes are.
At that time, 6 months ago, I felt like 155 might be the thing I was most comfortable with.
Yep.
But, it's also an interesting thing having that target be moving. So I'm also somewhat in a space of like not quite comfortable with any length because the older or the longer lengths definitely feel wrong to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But there are certain moments and moves where I'm still not fully used to the shorter lengths either. So it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, someone needs to come out with 145 cranks. Practice 145s.
Yeah, if I can just get my production squared away, I'll have Farallines for you.
Yeah.
Still, I'm waiting for another iteration of the chainring mount. So we had we had a prototype that was too loose. We had a prototype that was too tight. And I think that's the last, like as soon as I have a chainring mount that I'm happy with the fit, we'll be ordering cranks. And then I think from there, it's like probably 6 to 8 weeks.
Exciting.
Assuming it's not 150% tariff from the factory I want to order them from.
Exactly.
I think that might be why the factory's dragging their feet on sending me samples. They're like, you're not going to order them anyway. Because maybe, I don't know.
Right. Maybe it's just harder to get them across the pond.
Maybe. I do not know.
Yeah. Let's see. What else is going on?
That might be a podcast.
I think that might be a podcast.
Thanks, Auk. Thanks everyone out there. Let's all remember to love the bike we ride.